What's up, everyone? Justin here, back with a new countdown show. It's been a while since I've done a new countdown. This is a top 10 new countdown. My top 10 worst men wrestlers, male wrestlers, whatever you want to call them, guy wrestlers, whatever. Top 10 worst men wrestlers that I've ever seen. Ever since I've been watching since 3 years old, 1987. So up first, again, new countdown, top 10 worst male wrestlers. Up first, number 10, the guy, this was mostly him in Japan working. He was formerly in the WWF in the 80s for about a year, maybe 2 years, not for long. But number 10, he worked mostly, I think, in FMW and IWA in Japan, like hardcore Japanese wrestling companies. They were very hardcore and extreme, like death match companies. Not so much. FMW did a lot of hardcore, a lot of exploding ring barbed wire matches, but I think IWA was a little bit more hardcore. But anyways, number 10, he worked in FMW as a character from the movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface. This guy was Leatherface. His wrestling character was Leatherface in Japan in FMW. He might have also been in IWA. He was also Leatherface. The guy was just shit. Not a good worker, not a good wrestler. As Leatherface, he barely did anything. He carried around a chainsaw, basically, and he would turn it on to come to the ring. He'd scare the poor Japanese fans would all scatter away and run away because he had a damn chainsaw. I'm sure he had the blades out of it, but still, he was turning on a chainsaw around all the fans. They would run away when you go in the crowd. So number 10 from FMW, Leatherface. Also, I said he's in the WWF in the 80s. He Leatherface in Japan. He might have been played by other guys, but the Leatherface I know in FMW was Corporal Kirshner. Corporal Kirshner was Leatherface, I think. I'm pretty sure he was. In Japan. Corporal Kirshner, that guy. With the army gimmick. In the WWF, carried around the American flag, feuded with Nikolai Volkov, had a match at WrestleMania 2. He became Leatherface in Japan. And he was not a good wrestler. One of the worst I've seen. Number 9. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Number 9, worst wrestler. Male wrestler. Number 9, the Great Khali. The guy could barely move. He was a shit. He was bad. He's a very nice guy in real life. He's done a lot for his country of India. I think he's even trained, I don't know how, but he's trained a few wrestlers. I think he even trained the Authors of Pain when they were in WWE or before WWE. He trained them. Great Khali was one of the worst wrestlers I've ever seen. Number 9, the Great Khali. Number 8, he was in WCW a short time in 91 and 92. And he was bad. He was not good at all. He's not number 1, the worst, but he was one of the worst wrestlers. He's a big man. He's really pretty fat. But he could move, but he was not a good wrestler. He also later on was in ECW, part of the Baldies. Number 8, PN News. The guy was one of the worst wrestlers I've seen. Number 7, this guy was in NWA WCW before this character showed up in the WWF, and my God, he was one of the worst wrestlers ever. Not number 1, but one of the worst. Definitely has to be on a top 10 of worst wrestlers. Number 7, Bastion Booger. That fucking name for a wrestler. Booger. If your name is Booger as a wrestler, that means you're not going to have a good fucking career at all. Bastion Booger, my God, he was just a mess. It was not good to watch him. It was embarrassing. I'm sure he's a nice guy. He was a little bit better when he was a part of WCW as a gimmick. Like, he broke out of a mental hospital. He was Norman the Lunatic. And then he became Bastion Booger. He's mostly around in 93. In WWF. Never appeared, I don't think, at a Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, or SummerSlam, or King of the Ring. Or he did appear at Survivor Series on 93. But he never had a WrestleMania match, never won a title. The guy was one of the worst wrestlers ever. Bastion Booger, number 7. Number 6, AEW, an AEW wrestler. Number 6, I don't care if the guy tries hard. To me, he's one of the worst wrestlers ever. Number 6, Marco Stunt. Not a good wrestler, one of the worst. Number 5, second generation wrestler. This guy was a son of a living legend. The son of an icon. The son of Bruno Sammartino. He was not good in the ring at all. Number 5, David Sammartino. He was in WWF for like a cup of coffee, like a very, very, like this much coffee, a very small cup of coffee. He appeared at WrestleMania 1, had a match, I think against Brutus Beefcake. By the way, Brutus, I will mention him, because I thought Brutus Beefcake was one of the worst wrestlers I've ever seen. So I will mention Brutus Beefcake after I'm done with the top 10. Number 5, David Sammartino did absolutely nothing in WWF. The guy was probably snake bitten. He was never going to have a good career because of his living in the shadow of his father, Bruno. I mean, Bruno's a legend. The guy was a world champion for like 7 years. Over like 3,000 to 4,000 days, he was world champion. So I feel bad for David Sammartino. The guy tried to be a wrestler, and it did not work. He was one of the worst. I will say all these guys that you could say I'm putting them down, calling them the worst wrestlers, but I will say they are all tougher than me. A lot tougher than me because they actually became wrestlers. I did not. I'm just judging them because I'm a fan. And I'm giving you all content. Hopefully you're entertained by it. Number 4. Again, David Sammartino barely was around in WWF. He did appear in the UWF in like 1990, I think, or 91. And he was a little bit better in the UWF than the WWF, but not much. Yes, the UWF that was ran by the fucking cocaine hooker addict, Herb Abrams. Number 4, worst wrestler. Number 4, David Flair. David Flair. Again, it wasn't his fault that his dad was an icon and a living legend. I mean, there's no way in hell David Flair could ever surpass or live up to what his dad did. Charlotte Flair has done a pretty damn good job, I will say. A lot better than David, a million times better than what David Flair could do. David Flair is just, the guy's lucky that he had the last name Flair, because that's the only reason he got a shot, an opportunity. I don't even think he would have made it through the power plant, the WCW power plant, or a wrestling school. I doubt he would have made it. He probably would have quit. Now, David is tougher than me because he actually got in the ring. But still, I can say, to me, he's, in my opinion, one of the worst wrestlers ever. David Flair, number 4. Number 3, a giant, like the Great Khali. But my God, I don't know who's worse, the Great Khali or this guy. Now, this guy, number 3, I heard outside of wrestling, he was a really nice guy. Never got into backstage fights or never got involved in politics. Never backstabbed anybody. He was a nice guy. But he shouldn't have been in wrestling because he couldn't wrestle. He was really one of the worst. Number 3, the Giant Gonzalez Elegante. The guy absolutely had no wrestling ability. Couldn't do anything. Yeah, it was cool. He was a giant. He was 7'7". I think Ted Turner found him, wanted to get him involved in WCW. I think Elegante even was a part of the Atlanta Hawks basketball team, I think, or tried out for them, or he was on them. I don't know, but Ted Turner and WCW executives saw him and they're like, oh my God, let's put him in the ring. It didn't work. He wasn't going to become the new Andre the Giant. He was bad. He was worse than Andre was in 1990. And Andre in 1990 barely did anything. Barely took any bumps. All he could really do in 1990 was maybe drop an elbow and chop. But Giant Gonzalez was bad. He was really one of the worst. Super nice guy. No, I got nothing against him, personally. I don't hate any of these wrestlers. I just think they were some of the worst to get in the ring. Number 3, Giant Gonzalez Elegante was one of the worst. Number 2, this guy's a piece of shit. I actually do hate him. Again, I don't know if I hate him, but I dislike him. I was never a fan of him. The guy's a garbage wrestler, talentless fucking hack. Could do absolutely nothing but this. Over and over and over. That's all I did. With the razor blade. He kept blading him. That's all I did. He'd get punched. He'd do that, over and over and over. He's a piece of shit human. And he was a piece of shit wrestler. He couldn't wrestle. He had zero talent. The only thing he had was a crazy look. He looked like a fucking butcher that would murder you. Or a crazy guy. Super obese. Super out of shape. Had zero talent, in my opinion. His only talent was blading and cutting himself and making his forehead scarred up for life. I don't know how he's still alive, but he is. And he's a piece of shit, I say, because he actually gave other wrestlers hepatitis from his blood going into their blood or their body. He gave other wrestlers hepatitis and he didn't give a shit. He didn't warn them, I have hepatitis, so let's not bleed. He didn't care. He didn't give a fuck if he gave other wrestlers hepatitis. That's a piece of shit person. He might be one of the biggest pieces of shit in wrestling, this guy. Number 2, one of the worst wrestlers ever. Number 2, Abdullah the Butcher. Thank God he never got a WWF run or WWE run. Yes, he's put in the Hall of Fame, but who cares? The Hall of Fame barely means anything. He never should have been put in it because, in my opinion, he's not a legend and he never worked for WWE. He's a piece of shit. Abdullah the Butcher is a piece of shit, trash, one of the worst wrestlers and one of the worst humans in wrestling. He's also a piece of shit for being there when Bruiser Brody was murdered. He was actually at the show and he denied in the dark side of the ring about Bruiser Brody being killed. Fucking Abdullah the Butcher denied knowing who did it and not caring who did it. And Abdullah acted like Bruiser Brody was a friend of his. No, you weren't a friend of Brody's. I doubt it. You were a piece of shit friend. You stood up for Carlos Colon and the other scumbag that killed Bruiser Brody. You didn't testify against them, I don't think. I don't even know if there's a trial, but Carlos Colon should be locked up. The guy that killed Brody, I forget his name. I think it's Gonzalez. He should be locked up. And Abdullah, you should be locked up for putting on some of the worst wrestling I've ever seen. So Abdullah Butcher's a piece of shit. He's number 2. Number 1, Abdullah could have been number 1. Trust me. This guy, I don't think's a piece of shit, but he's nuts because he jumped across a table and started choking Vince McMahon because he's having a dispute over money or something. I don't fucking know what he's mad about, but he started choking Vince like he wanted to kill him. That's crazy. I don't care how much you dislike your boss or you thought your boss lied to you. Maybe you thought Vince lied to him about money. I don't know. I don't care. All I know is you fucking choked Vince and like tried to kill him or scare him. I don't fucking know, but you're crazy. And you were one of the worst wrestlers ever. You're number 1. You couldn't do anything except choke. All you did is choke your opponent over and over and over. Choke. Release. After the 5 count. Choke again. Release. And that was his gimmick, I guess. His gimmick is to blame because he was supposed to be a prisoner broken out of prison. But seriously, one of the worst wrestlers ever. Number 1, Nails. Nails. Had a short run in WWF. Did nothing. Never held a title. Maybe held titles on the indies. I don't know. I don't care. Nails was a stupid gimmick and one of the worst wrestlers ever. Number 1, worst wrestler, Nails. Never appeared at WrestleMania. He wasn't good enough, in my opinion, to be on this show. Never appeared at... did he appear at Summer? Yes, he did appear at SummerSlam 92. Sadly, Nails was against Virgil. That was one of the worst matches also I've ever seen. But Virgil was a lot better than fucking Nails, at least. At least Virgil could wrestle a little. And then, God, Nails appeared at Survivor Series 92. Then he's gone. Then he actually appeared at WCW's Slamboree 93. I don't know why they brought him in, but they did. And thank God, I think Sting beat him really quick. Or it was a DQ, I don't remember. Number 1 worst wrestler I've ever seen, male wrestler, Nails. Now I'm going to mention a few that were bad, really bad wrestlers. One of the Von Erichs, I think his name was Chris. He sadly passed away in 91. I think his name was Chris Von Erich. He was not a good wrestler. He was undersized, not his fault. I don't know why he was even pushed into wrestling, maybe by his father, I don't know. or because you had a lot of Von Erichs pass away. David passed away. David Von Erich, Mike Von Erich, and then you had Chris Von Erich commit suicide also and pass away. So maybe Chris Von Erich was put in the ring because Fritz, his father, thought, I need more Von Erichs to be in the business. I don't know. But Chris Von Erich was not very good. But I'm not going to say he's one of the worst. I'm going to just mention him. Dan Spivey, one of the worst. Not very good. Had the size, he was pretty big and scary looking, but he didn't have any wrestling ability. Also, Brutus the Barber Beefcake. The guy's one of the worst wrestlers I've ever seen. So I'll mention him. Brutus, you would have been nothing. You would have had no career at all. You wouldn't have been in WWF for like 9 years if it wasn't for your friendship with Hogan. You rode Hogan's back for like decades. That's the only way you got contracts from WWF and WCW. Because you were Hogan's boy. Now I guess they're not even friends and they don't talk. That's pretty funny. That now Brutus, you can't use Hogan for anything. So there it is. My top 10 worst wrestlers I've ever seen. Hope you enjoyed it. I will do a top 10 worst female wrestlers also. And like, comment, share, and subscribe if you liked this video. New top 10 countdown, my worst male wrestlers ever. Bye for now.